most significant impact was obviously the economic outlook in terms of loss of jobs from closure of Hazelwood Power Station, so around 750 jobs directly. So and that has a flow-on economic impact to the community in terms of supply chain, but also people not having those jobs, passing that money through to the community. So that's been the most significant one. I suppose at the time of the closure of Hazelwood, it was also, I suppose, a lack of optimism in the community, and so that was probably one of the most significant challenges at that point.
The Worker Transition Scheme is one of Australia's first, in fact it is Australia's first worker transfer scheme under the Andrews government, basically to encourage those that are so close to retirement to put their hand up early and leave. Now if they were to leave, that would create a vacancy for younger people that were working at Hazelwood that were made redundant to transfer across to the new stations and have a job. So there was a bit of a commitment publicly and funded for about 150 workers. We achieved 90, that's 90 families with jobs, so that's a fantastic outcome. The problem we had is that, to use one of a better word, we had carrot for the companies to help participate, but we didn't have a stick to force them to look at people. So I think there's quite a capacity for the companies to want to participate in the new worker transfer scheme. The issue is we need a just transition fund and funding to ensure it happens.
There's only one word that I can always use, and that's gargantuan. In total area terms, they're 50 square kilometres, and that is the equivalent of the area of Sydney Harbour. So it is absolutely huge, and each of the mines, of course, are very large in their own right. And I had that little photograph of Hazelwood. In Melbourne terms, it would extend from Punt Road right down to CBD and beyond. So that's just for Hazelwood. Loy Yang's even bigger again, and of course deeper.
I expect it'll have a major impact on Latrobe Valley, potentially even more than Hazelwood, mainly because we'll have a reduced power station group by then. There'll only be Loy Yang A and Loy Yang B left running. So the effect on transition to workers is going to be greater. But on the positive side, we have more time to prepare. So I was encouraging the committee to consider some of those longer term areas that need to be started on now, so that we have more opportunity for those workers to go into other employment options when that station gets to its closure date.
In terms of the Yallourn Power Station and mine closure that's been announced for 2028, I mean the workers were told only weeks before they were running till 2032, so they've lost 4 years worth of wages, but at least now they've got 7 years of notification. So there's time to plan, there's time to do something. So that's where I suppose we shouldn't see the rushed outcomes we had with Hazelwood. Transition scheme was a good start. What we need is a bit of legislation to enforce the companies to participate, to hire people from within that industry rather than shop elsewhere and leave the locals unemployed.
Well, we know that coal's coming to an end. Climate change is real and we have to do something about it. We know that countries are moving away from coal. They don't want Australia's coal anymore. For us, we burn the coal, we actually produce the energy. Of course, we don't transport our coal. We already have the technology, 100% of the technology to change the energy system to renewable energy.
We've got a centralised grid, all starting from the Latrobe Valley, high voltage and very high voltage transmission lines feed out all over the state and into the national grid. So that system is already there, up and standing. We just need those electrons to build into it, to feed in, to replace the coal-fired and gas-fired electricity. And you can, get those electrons from wind and solar, but all of those are just electrons doing exactly the same as the electrons that come from coal or gas.
Well, we'd love to see them to be very attractive areas which people would like to go and visit and be suitable for use for recreational, sporting purposes, possibly even for educational activities of various sorts, cultural activities possibly.
Council has, I suppose, a view that we should be looking for job creation in other industries. We've seen significant government investment in terms of government projects such as rail and hospitals, which do create jobs, and they create a great foundation for the future. But I think, and Council's submission was in relation to creating economic growth through other industry.